For this special occasion, I put some special songs of hope. We have a special hope that the 100 years that passed for Beit Tfiloh, the next 100 years should be as good, if not better, than the previous 100 years. Amen. Tell me, where can I go? There's no place I can see. Where to go, where to go? Every door is closed for me. To the left, to the right, it's the same in every land. Wie ein Blick kommt zurück, sich zerstört jede Brick. Wohin soll ich gehen? Somewhere, someplace, wohin soll ich gehen? There's a place for us, somewhere a place for us, peace and quiet and open air wait for us somewhere. There's a time for us, somewhere time for us, time together with time to care, time to spare, time to learn, somewhere, somehow, someplace. Gonna build a mountain from a little hill. Gonna build a mountain, I hope I will. Gonna build a mountain, gonna build it high. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, only know I'm gonna try. Everybody gonna see a daydream for my little hope. Gonna push that daydream up the mountain slope. Gonna build a daydream, gonna see it through. Gonna build a mountain and a daydream, gonna make them both come true. My land, Israel, God gave my land to me. This brave and ancient land to me. And when the morning sun reveals the hills and plains, then I know the land where children can run free. Now I know where to go, where my roots proudly stand. Where to go, where to go. To Israel, the Holy Land. Lift your head and see the light. I am proud, can't you see? For at last I am free. No more wandering far. Thank you. Solomon Eichner on the piano.
And so Jaime was a 75-year-old, extremely wealthy widower. One day he shows up at his country club with an absolutely gorgeous 25-year-old brunette. His friends at the club are shocked. At the first chance, they corner him and ask, Jaime, how did you get this amazing trophy girlfriend? To which Jaime replies, girlfriend? She's not my girlfriend. She's my wife. Disbelieving this, his friends ask, how did you persuade her to marry you? And Jaime replies, I lied about my age. To which the friends ask, what did you tell her, that you're 50? And Jaime smiles and says, no, I told her I was 100. So yes, at 100, you are expected to be dead and buried, but not Beth Tfiloh. At 100, we are alive and well. How do you explain it? Most every survey indicates synagogue attendance is dropping, synagogues are closing or merging. What makes Beth Tfiloh unique? How come when other day schools across the country are forced to close, ours has a student population of close to 1,000? Well, let me phrase it with these 3 questions unique to Beth Tfiloh. Number 1, on December 16, 1921, a group of men gathered to write the charter incorporating the Beth Tfiloh congregation. That charter was signed by all the 18 people present. So explain to me why in my years as your rabbi, at least 2,000 people claim that their fathers were amongst our founders present in that room. Number 2, explain to me why year after year of all the synagogues in America, we are the leader every year in the sale of State of Israel bonds. Explain to me why in 2012, when Stephen Weil, who was then the head of the Orthodox Union, said to this congregation, what the Jewish world needs is 10 Beth Tfilohs. If we had them, the Jewish world would be completely different for the better. Explain to me why, when the community attempted to start a co-ed high school, it never got off the ground. Our Beth Tfiloh High School now has 300 students. The answer to all these questions and so many more for me began in a meeting I had nearly 40 years ago as your rabbi. Tonight is made possible through the generosity of the Hanan Weissman Foundation. So much at Beth Tfiloh was made possible by this man's generosity. I've said many times that he was the finest human being I had ever met. And I would say that even if he hadn't given me a dime. But he gave me more than a dime. It started nearly 40 years ago when we started to dream of having a high school. That was when I first met Hanan Weissman. That was when Hanan Weissman was a member of another synagogue. I invited Hanan to my home. He came at 7 a.m. on his way to work, and I gave him a cup of coffee, and he gave me $500,000. And to this day, I wonder what I might have gotten had I given him eggs and a bagel as well. I was young then, I've learned. It was shortly thereafter that we met with Morty Max and he agreed to a similar gift. But he said he first had to check with his wife Louise. And then he turned to Hanan and asked, "How do you give away this kind of money without asking Rachel?" Hanan immediately answered, "I take it from petty cash." These two men went on to give a lot more from their pocket and their hearts to build our high school. But what most impressed me was the fact that these two giants in the real estate industry, these two major league businessmen, these two men who were not members of Beth Tfiloh at the time, cared so much about building a Jewish day high school. And it wasn't for their children. All of their children already past high school age. No, they cared about all of God's children. And that, to me, symbolizes so much of what makes Beth Tfiloh unique. They and we care about all of God's children, religious and irreligious, Orthodox, conservative, Reform, Jews by choice, Jews by birth. We care about you. We reach out to you, and we welcome you with open arms. We are family, the Beth Tfiloh family. We are a family where all of us follow Jewish law and walk to shul on Shabbos. Some from their homes and some from the parking lot. But it makes absolutely no difference to us. We leave all the judging to God and extend our arms to all of God's creation. Some years ago, Jack Euclides, one of the American Jewish community's leading demographers, conducted the Baltimore population survey for our associate. And he told us that in every other community, religiously, Jews could be divided into 4 segments: Orthodox, conservative, Reform, and non-affiliated. Only in Baltimore did people mark off a 5th category: Beth Tfiloh. Little wonder that in 2016, when Naftali Bennett, soon to become Prime Minister of the State of Israel, spoke here at Beth Tfiloh, he said, "We need to learn from your community, Rabbi Wahlberg. The acceptance of every Jew, regardless of the size of their yarmulke, is something we need to learn in Israel." So what makes us unique? We practice a unique brand of Judaism. We don't like the existing labels. We have our own. We practice healthy Judaism that makes it possible to be uplifted and enriched, to grow as a Jew and as an American. There are very few places like this in the Jewish world. We've lived up to the prophetic vision of our name, emblazoned above, Ki beiti beit tefillah yikarei l'chol ha'amim. Ours is a beit tefillah, a house of prayer for all the people. And you know what? That's something to cheer about. Remember the song? Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name. Everybody knows the name Beth Tfiloh. When I tried out for the position of rabbi here, I remember going home that Saturday evening totally wiped out. And I told Sherry, I don't know if I want to be its rabbi, but I know I would sure love to be one of its members. So now, I may no longer be the rabbi, but I look forward to being a member for the rest of my life. And to all of you as well, I say, cheers. You know, at this stage in life, if they make me walk up those steps once again, you may never see me again. Okay. During the long history, the Beth Tfiloh congregation, while respecting the concept of separation of church and state, has never really been separated from politics. You can't be when one of the few synagogues to have a fourth-generation member is a U.S. Senator named Benjamin Cardin, who we will be hearing from and are saving for our spotlight event. But even before Ben was a senator, you should know that when we dedicated this very building, honoring us at the dedication was the then governor of Maryland, a man named Spiro Agnew. I wonder whatever happened to him. But at this time, I'm honored to accept many proclamations that have come to us from the Maryland State Senate, signed by William Ferguson and Shelley Heddleman, and from the Maryland General Assembly, again by Shelley Heddleman and Lisa Miller Castro and John Cardin and Dana Stein and Dalia Attar. On the occasion of our Centennial celebration, we are also honored to have in person several people whose proclamations will be made in person. The first is a man by the name of Hanan Weissman. Hanan Weissman will be making a proclamation from President Biden. Hanan serves at the White House as the liaison to the American Jewish community. We take great pride in the fact that the White House liaison to the Jewish community during both the Obama and Biden administrations has been Hanan Weissman. He is a graduate of our Beth Tfiloh, and his wife is the principal of our lower school. We take greater pride in the fact that Hanan is a genuine mensch whom we helped produce. I am privileged to call upon the White House liaison, Mr. Hanan Weissman.
I'm glad you're sitting, Rabbi. Thank you very much. Rabbi Wahlberg, congratulations on your extraordinary legacy of leadership. To Rabbi Posner, congratulations on your most recent installation. The shul cannot be in better hands. To Senator Cardin, to Governor Hogan, to the many dignitaries, members of the shul, those joining in this room and online, I gotta be honest, I haven't been this nervous or excited since my bar mitzvah. Actually, I take that back. Not since my high school graduation from Beth Tfiloh, with Dr. Shore, I imagine, remembers quite well. It's a very embarrassing story, but I can't think of a more cathartic place to share it than with several hundred of my closest friends. The graduation took place in this room 21 years ago, and as was custom then, the senior boys and senior girls lined up, one after the other. The boys in blue gowns, the girls in white gowns. We marched down this very aisle, blue, white, blue, white. And once we reached the stage, the senior girls were instructed to sit in the first rows to my left, and the senior boys in the first rows to my right. Who here has been to a Beth Tfiloh graduation? Raise your hands. So you know the image. It's vintage. Pomp and circumstance playing in the background, guiding each graduate down the aisle. Family and friends at the edge of their seats, straining to take photos or to wave or just to make eye contact and acknowledge this crowning moment. Well, I must have been wrapped up in my own mind because suddenly I felt a tap on my shoulder. It was my friend Rachel. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to, but she gave me that look. I turned around and realized I am the only blue gown surrounded by a sea of white gowns. That's right, I walked straight into the senior girls section. And like Indiana Jones, I quickly ventured past my friends, hightail it across the aisle, find the sea of blue gowns, promptly sit down at the edge of the row, and mortified, I stuffed my face in my hands, and I pray to God no one notices. A few seconds go by. I receive another tap on my shoulder. Begrudgingly, I peel my eyes from the grip of my palms and I look up, and standing there, hovering above, is none other than Rabbi Wahlberg. Larger than life, dean of the school. Now, I've replayed this moment in my mind many times, and Rabbi, I don't even know if you remember this, but he clearly saw the whole thing, had that bird's eye view, walked down from the bima, tapped me on the shoulder, and I remember it like it was yesterday. He said, "Hey kid, look up. It's your graduation. Today's a special day." And he returns to the bima. Well, 21 years later, it is an honor to return to this hallowed sanctuary in celebration of this crowning milestone and to recite those same words. Rabbi Wahlberg, today's a special day. A day 100 years in the making, more than 5,200 Shabbases in the making, an untold number of brises, bar and bat mitzvahs, weddings and funerals, siddur parties, chumash parties, midot parties, all kinds of parties. And just look around, and just think to yourself how much these walls have witnessed over the years since moving from the Forest Park location. In these halls, the Beth Tfiloh community sang and danced, prayed and rallied, laughed and cried, listened to sermons that inspired, motivated, captured your imagination, and activated that hidden part of your soul, which revealed itself here and only here in these halls. A place where your mind raced, lost in quiet, deeply personal moments of self-reflection and introspection. A space where a centuries-old song or a speech from the pulpit gave you pause and reminded you that yes, you are connected to a story greater than your own, but also the realization that your story is interwoven into generations past and that your decisions will guide generations to come. Like thousands of others, as Rabbi Wahlberg said, I am a proud product of this community. I have been the beneficiary of its embracing arms, and I have learned the many values that our Beth Tfiloh community has taught, which is why 2 months ago, when an attacker stormed the synagogue in Colliesville, Texas, taking several members hostage, including the courageous Rabbi Charlie, I knew firsthand what was at stake when a shul, the beating heart of a community, is threatened. I had the tremendous privilege in my role as the White House liaison to the American Jewish community to reach out to those impacted on that day. And the week that followed, I found myself on phone calls with leading government officials from the White House, the FBI, the Department of Justice and Homeland Security, and with members of our community. And in my conversations, I stressed, from personal experience, rooted within these walls, that regardless of what you call these hallowed halls, a temple, a shul, a synagogue, a congregation. What is this? It's a Beit Knesset. Yes, it is a Knesset, which translates as a place to congregate, to gather, a place to form bonds with one another as we aim to strengthen our connection with the transcendent, with the divine. But at its core, what is it? It's also a beit, a bayit, a house, a home. What happened in Texas hit close to home because that's what a shul is when it's done right. That's what synagogues aspire to in year 1 of their lives and what they aim to sustain in year 100. And that is why today is a special day, because today we celebrate a century of Beth Tfiloh serving as a home for thousands of people over 100 years of its life. As Rabbi Wahlberg mentioned, today is so special that it is a deep honor, a zechut, a merit, to bring greetings and words of congratulations from the White House. The letter is in the mail, but we're all friends now because I shared that graduation story, so I'll give you a sneak peek. It reads as follows. Mazal Tov to Beth Tfiloh congregation as you celebrate your centennial anniversary. Synagogues, like many places of worship, have been an essential part of our nation's fabric since our founding, providing hope and comfort to generations of Americans. They strengthen our faith, nourish our souls, and call upon us to love one another and uphold the dignity of every person. The 100-year story of Beth Tfiloh is a quintessential Jewish American story, an institution conceived out of necessity and ingenuity, guided by faith and fortitude, and anchored in tradition and innovation. A synagogue that, like its namesake, serves as a home for spiritual growth and a beacon for communal prayer. It is a story as fundamentally American as it is Jewish. Jill and I extend our best wishes to the Beth Tfiloh family on this milestone celebration. May this moment serve as a source of strength and inspiration to all of you. L'dor vador, for generations to come. Signed, Joe Biden. Now, I can't top the boss, so I will conclude quite simply with the following. To the leaders and members of this community, this remarkable community, past, present, and future, I extend a mazal tov, a mazal tov, a mazal tov on this most special day. Mazel tov.
I want to thank Hanan for his really beautiful words of tribute and remembering what I didn't remember. But it does reinforce a conversation Tzipi Shore and I have had many a time, how my job is so much better than hers. Here you take a child, and Dr. Shore is there the day they come into the school. And she welcomes them with a smile, and then cleans off their nose, and then calls the janitor to come and clean up the room after the child has vomited, and then arranges for the child to see a social worker and arranges for them to be tested, and then calls in the parents, and then has a team meeting, and then discusses it with which class the child should go into the middle school, and discussing whether the high school is the right place for them, and to make sure they go into the proper class in the high school, and to see if it's possible for them to graduate, and then to go to colleges all across the country to advocate for them. And I say one or two nice lines at a kid's bar mitzvah or graduation, and I get all the credit in the world. It's a great job I have, Dr. Shore. But the nice thing about it is she has resented it graciously. I also want Hanan to understand that what happened at his graduation could never happen anymore. In our day and age, you need more than 2 sections for the graduates from the high school. So with that in mind, I want to welcome our next guest, known to most all of you as Johnny O. I spoke to Johnny O before, and I told him that I was going to say that he graduated from Goucher, and according to my calculations, that was before they had even admitted boys, but I wasn't going to say it because these days you can't say things like that without being slapped on the face. So instead, let me simply say the following. I want to thank John Carton for introducing me to Johnny O, and from even more important, teaching me how to pronounce Olszewski. Johnny Olszewski is not a graduate of Beth Tfiloh, but he has always been involved in education. And armed with being a graduate of Goucher and holding a PhD, he switched careers, went into the family business, so to speak, following in the footsteps of his father. He was elected to the Maryland House of Delegates at the age of 23. That's almost the same age as Rabbi Posner. And his star has been rising ever since. He is now Baltimore County Executive and in a position of great power. Why do I say that? Because Izzy Patoka asked me to remind Johnny that he's in the position of providing the Beth Tfiloh community with sidewalks at a bargain rate of $2.5 million. I am honored to call upon Johnny O.
I don't know if I should admit that I also met my wife and married her from Goucher College as well, or that I had to lie about my age a bit too when I was running for office the first time. It is an honor to be with you this evening. Thank you for the opportunity on behalf of the grateful residents of Baltimore County. All 854,000 of us are so grateful that Beth Tfiloh is such a cherished institution here and has such a proud and incredible history. Congratulations on 100 incredible years. Rabbi Wahlberg, I couldn't help but think as we were watching the presentation and as you spoke that this is a place where what I call radical love is given the chance to flourish. And as I heard the remarks from the highest levels of leadership in the country, recognize Beth Tfiloh as a light to the world, and then to follow it up from a local perspective and to know what an incredible asset and what a cherished treasure this place is for so many. I hope that you all know what a special thing that you have, and I hope that you know it's because of the people who have made it possible. So I bring congratulations on behalf of Baltimore County. This is an executive citation to Beth Tfiloh congregation in recognition and congratulations on the 100th anniversary of the Beth Tfiloh congregation, a truly significant milestone. The congregation is a valuable part of the community for its devoted service and serves as an inspiration to others through its generosity and unselfish acts. On behalf of all of our citizens, we are proud to congratulate the Beth Tfiloh congregation, wishing you well on another 100 years. So again, congratulations, and Rabbi Posner, we look forward to your leadership in the years ahead. Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
We're on the way, too, so.
I am now honored to introduce our guest speaker for this evening, Larry Hogan, the governor of the state of Maryland. It was at my suggestion that we invite the governor this evening because he's more than the governor to me. He is my friend and yours. I still remember some years ago when Bruce Beriano brought the then candidate for governor to my office. It was an instant mutual admiration. I admired this man for his straightforward, down-to-earth, action-oriented good nature. And in turn, he admired my car. It was love at first sight, and it's been that way ever since. Every year, Governor Hogan has a Hanukkah party in his home for the Jewish community, and I am called upon to be the guest speaker. It was only natural that when we threw a party, he would be the guest speaker. I am heading to retirement. We all look forward to finding out where he is headed. There's got to be a reason that he has a higher approval rating than I ever had. I'm honored to call upon my friend and yours, Governor Larry Hogan, to address us.
Oh, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. Good evening, everyone. It's great to be here with everyone to celebrate this incredible milestone. I know that this time last year we were celebrating Rabbi Wahlberg's induction into the Baltimore Jewish Hall of Fame. And I just want to again recognize and congratulate him on his more than 4 decades of serving as the spiritual leader of this congregation. You know, I remember like it was yesterday, the day that we first met in 2014. I really was impressed. I came in, I saw a Maserati in the parking lot, and I was thinking, the rabbi has a Maserati. Why did I waste all those years in Catholic school? But I came to learn what an incredible man he is, and we became good friends. He's a mensch. He's also much funnier than any of the priests that I knew when I was growing up. But just a few weeks ago, I know Rabbi Posner is just named to be installed. He was installed, and he's going to take over. You have big shoes to fill, but I want to wish you good luck in your next 4 decades. It's really an honor to be able to join you tonight to help commemorate an amazing and impactful 100 years at Beth Tfiloh. And I want to begin by congratulating all of the clergy, the staff, the leadership, and all of the members who've been such an instrumental part of making the first century of this synagogue so momentous. The earliest congregates gathered in living rooms before settling on the Forest Park neighborhood for their new shul under the visionary leadership of Rabbi Samuel Rosenblatt. And Beth Tfiloh took the trailblazing step at that time of adding a school to become not only a house of worship, but a place of learning for future generations. And eventually the shul relocated here to Pikesville, where you are now home to the largest modern Orthodox congregation in North America, with an incredible 3,500 members. Much has changed over the past 100 years. Your mission has stayed the same, and that's to provide a welcoming and inclusive environment where our Jewish community can celebrate their faith and support Israel. And that guiding vision has served you well for the past century. And I have no doubt that it will continue to serve you well in the century to come, so that you will continue to live up to the scripture from Isaiah, from which this congregation took its name. For my temple shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples. As we prepare to celebrate Passover over the next week, and as we renew our appreciation for freedom and common humanity and the great traditions handed down to us over generations. And in a closing personal note, I just want to thank Beth Tfiloh for your partnership over the past 8 years, for your prayers for me during difficult times. I'm really very honored to have had such support from this community. And my time as governor will be coming to an end in January, so I want to take this opportunity to very sincerely thank you for giving me this incredible opportunity to serve as your governor. We've been through a great many struggles together, but there hadn't been a single day, good or bad, when I was not grateful for the opportunity to serve as your governor. We've accomplished so much together, and I promise that I'm going to keep giving this job as your governor everything I've got every single day that I have left. And I just want to say once again, congratulations on 100 wonderful years. Mazel tov. And I want to ask Rabbi Wahlberg to come back up here so that I can present him with a governor's citation that's stated today and signed by me, the Lieutenant Governor and the Secretary of State, to honor this very special occasion for 100 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and good evening. I promise not to speak too long because I do speak with a cello. I just wanted to say that we're going to change the next piece to a piece that actually celebrates the voice, my voice, which is the cello. My wife and I and our three kids have been here in Beth Tfiloh for now quite a few years. My daughter will graduate high school next year, and we always love to come here on Shabbat to hear Rabbi Wahlberg and also to hear the voice of the Chazan, who is also retiring this year. So I want to dedicate this piece to you two. This is a piece that was written by Popper, who was a great cellist in the 19th century, and his grandfather was a Chazan. And I know that we're all celebrating and bragging how old Beth Tfiloh is, but it's actually a baby comparing to this instrument. This cello was made in 1695, so you have a way to go, and I hope you'll enjoy the next piece.
I am very proud to say I am a past president of this incredible school. Yes, it has evolved since I was involved, but a couple days ago we went to the Sea-Door program for our oldest grandson. And it just made me so proud to see how Beth Tfiloh has grown through its students. My daughter, Lauren, is going to be the first female president of the Beth Tfiloh congregation. I don't believe that could have happened years before. But what has remained the same are the goals of Beth Tfiloh, the values of Beth Tfiloh, and the passion and love.
To be involved in the merger of two major synagogues in Baltimore was a big commitment and a big accomplishment. We're now the largest modern Orthodox synagogue by membership in America, I understand. And so many have joined or love coming, all of which is very gratifying to know that we've accomplished what we were trying to do.
I was honored to be both the president of the congregation for 2 years and the president of the school for 3 years. And it had a tremendous impact on me. I had the opportunity to work with the professionals, Rabbi Wahlberg and Dr. Shore, in a way that I never would have been able to. And it got me to see their absolute commitment to the institution. It really, this is their life.
My roots here go very deep, both on the Miller side, my dad's side, and Shapiro's side, which is my mom's side. My grandparents were members back at Garrison. Rabbi Rosenblatt married them, and Rabbi Wahlberg married us.
I feel honored and privileged to be the president of the School Board of Trustees, and when I look up on our wall of presidents, I'm very humbled to see the faces and the names of the people who have gone before me. When I was able to accept the position, the reason why I would truly say yes is because of the people inside the building. Seeing the faces of all the teachers and the cute little kids in school and saying, of course I want to be involved and I want to give back to this place.
I just have learned to feel so comfortable with their service. Certainly with the rabbis, we feel a great connection.
The Beth Tfiloh Shul is a very special place for me, and I often equate it with the TV show Cheers, where everyone knows your name and they're awfully glad that you came. And I find it to be a very comforting place.
I personally am involved with 2 organizations that have a lot to do with Love Israel, so that's near and dear to our hearts.
Our number one drive, our focus, and I think something that we really learned here in the halls of BT, we picked up the fact that Beth Tfiloh is about our Jewish identity. They taught us to be proud to be Jews, to give back to our own community first, and then once we've given back to our own community, then to look outwards and see if we can help others.
We're very lucky. All 3 of us serve on the Centennial campaign, and we so believe that the first 100 years of Beth Tfiloh, we reap the benefit. But we want to be there for future generations.
There's so much room for diversity and for flexibility and for just everyone finding what connects them to Judaism. I know that that will stay with Beth Tfiloh for the next 100 years because I think that's what makes us special.
Beth Tfiloh, from its inception, was maybe an outlier in its modernity and its ability to adapt with the times. I hope that we'll continue for another century to adapt and to find ways to be an inclusive community. I think that would be incredible.
I think we're both very excited for the future. We're excited for Rabbi Posner. We're very excited for the changes that are coming there. We're excited to be participating in this 100th anniversary celebration to ensure that BT is around for the next 100 years and 100 years after that.
Now more than ever, I think, a shul in a school like this is needed. I'm hopeful that places like this will thrive and help feel better. We wish the very, very best for all of the people in the new administration, and we just hope going forward for another 100 years that the Tfiloh will still be around doing wonderful things for the Jewish community.
So they told me I had 3 minutes to speak tonight, but they forgot to tell me I was going to follow the governor and a world-class musical performance. So I hope this isn't too disappointing. Good evening. It's truly an honor to serve as Beth Tfiloh's board chair during this incredible period in our history, as we welcome a new head rabbi and celebrate our centennial anniversary. At this time, we would like to acknowledge current Beth Tfiloh officers, board of directors, religious services, committee chairs. Can I ask all of you to please stand and remain standing? Currently serving. Now I would like, and remain standing, please. Now I would like to ask all past officers, board of directors, religious services, and committee chairs who have guided us to where we are today to please join our current leadership. Please stand and remain standing. Now I would like to ask each of you who currently serve or have previously served as leaders in other Jewish organizations, local, national, or regional, outside of Beth Tfiloh, to please stand and be acknowledged to highlight the broad reach our Beth Tfiloh leadership has had. All of our current and future lay leaders stand on the shoulders of all of those who have served before us. Thank you for all of your time, leadership, dedication, and service. Our membership, community, and Klal Yisrael owe each and every one of you a tremendous debt of gratitude. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's a distinct honor and privilege to be here with you this evening and to be leading this illustrious congregation into the next 100 years. I always wanted to say illustrious publicly, so I said it, and I feel good. I'm fortunate to work with incredibly supportive lay leadership who we just saw standing up, who give their time, their money, their energy to Beth Tfiloh. We couldn't do what we do without your support, and I want to say thank you. Since Rabbi Wahlberg spoke about his early supporters, I'd like to especially acknowledge and give thanks to Irene and Robert Russell, who have shown their trust in me and in our future with a very generous gift to our Centennial campaign, which you'll hear about more in the coming months. We're also blessed with the most committed, devoted, and hardworking staff anywhere. I'd like to ask all Beth Tfiloh Shul and Beth Tfiloh School staff who are with us here this evening to please rise and to be recognized for all that you do. Beth Tfiloh is the special place that it is because of all of you, so thank you. And I'd like to publicly offer Akarat Tov gratitude to one staff member who's no longer with us, to Jane Epstein, Aleh Shalom, blessed memory, who passed away this past December. For over 20 years, she lived here in this building behind the scenes to ensure that we could financially do what we needed to do. She's no longer physically with us, but her impact continues to be felt here. May her memory be for a blessing. We turn our attention now to two women who deserve our recognition, but rarely receive it. Two women I consider to be mentors and friends. Two women who have been a major part of everything that happens at Beth Tfiloh for a significant portion of our history. Two women who live and breathe Beth Tfiloh every day of their lives. Two women who have dedicated their lives to this place. Two women who will be retiring this coming June. Two women to whom Rabbi Wahlberg and Dr. Shore will now pay tribute.
It would almost be impossible for Beth Tfiloh to celebrate its centennial without referring to Eve Crescent Steinberg. While we pay tribute to her having served as our executive director for the past 20 years, the reality is Eve stands at the very heart of Beth Tfiloh. She grew up in a home where her mother Rebecca and her father Meyer had been presidents of our sisterhood and brotherhood. As a youngster, she rolled the numbers on the paginator at the old Beth Tfiloh in Forest Park. Here on Old Court Road, she served for 2 years volunteering as executive director, and then for more than 20 years in that professional position. In between, she was elected to be chairman of the board of our congregation. When I came to Beth Tfiloh, only the men counted as members, not the women. We changed that, and it culminated with Eve being the first woman to serve as chairman of our board of directors. She was chosen because all of us here at Beth Tfiloh admire and respect her. She is not just a knowledgeable Jew, but a committed Jew. To say that she attends more services than I do is to praise with faint compliment. But even more, I've been with Eve most every day through the years. I've seen her up front in moments of joy and in the most tragic moments of sorrow. At all times, under all circumstances, she has conducted herself regally with class. As I once said, if one wanted to point to a person and say, this is what Beth Tfiloh can produce, we can all point with pride to an Eve Crescent Steinberg. She could truly be our poster girl, but she's not a girl. She is a real lady, a leader who has been the face of Beth Tfiloh, a face that has made all of us look good. It has been a true privilege to work with her, to have her as a friend, and to call upon her at this time. Eve, on behalf of a grateful congregation, we present you with this beautiful picture and with this certificate of appreciation, which reads, the clergy, staff, and board of Beth Tfiloh are pleased to present Eve Crescent Steinberg with a trip to Israel in recognition of her years of service to our community.
Thank you. With gratitude and to my colleague and friend David Rothenberg, I share the following. It says that there's a difference between change and transition. Change is situational, whereas transition is psychological. Change can happen in a moment, but transition, adapting to that change, takes much longer. I've spent the last several months working with Dan Cillian, sharing whatever I could about BT in the time we worked in tandem. What I learned is that you cannot hand over this job and the ongoing work of a synagogue in a nicely gift-wrapped package, complete with a bow, and say, here it is, it's all ready to go. It takes time. There was much accomplished during my 20 years as executive director at this, my beloved synagogue, and much left on the to-do list as well. However, just as all organizations change and evolve, synagogues also evolve and change, sometimes moving away from the processes and procedures that have been previously implemented. Changes of leadership often mean changes in style, directions, and priorities as well. I wish my colleague Dan and the staff of Beth Tfiloh only success as they navigate the road ahead. I thank my coworkers and my fellow congregants for their support throughout my years here. And I wish all of us well in Ma'aseh Yadeinu, the work of our hands, especially as we try to figure out the new post-COVID normal. As for me, well, transitions take time, and although I'm retiring from active duty at the end of June, I will still continue to be involved in Beth Tfiloh. I've been part of this community all my life. It's been my second home, and for that I thank my beloved parents, Zichronam Livracha, for having chosen BT as our spiritual and educational home. And I also thank my Baltimore children and grandchildren for continuing that tradition. My Beth Tfiloh family has been there for me, helping me at the highest and lowest moments in my life, and for that I will be eternally grateful. I hope to be an active member of this community for many years to come, ready to help by making contributions to BT and our mission as we go mechayil lechayil, from strength to strength, as we begin our next 100 years. So this is definitely not a goodbye. It's rather lihitraot, see you soon, and toda rabbah, thank you for letting me serve you. It was my honor, my privilege, and my pleasure. I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave. Yeah, it's up here.
Rabbi Wahlberg was very generous in the way he described my day-to-day operation here in the school. What he didn't say is that every single day that I come into this building, I do it with a great deal of joy and an enormous amount of love for the incredible children that we have here. So, Rabbi, I never, ever in public disagree with you, but I don't think I would say I'm envious of you. There's only one thing I'm envious of, Rabbi, your height. Before I give tribute to an incredible, incredible woman, I'd like to just share some reflections of my own. Because I stand here and I think with such awe about the words 100 years. That's a century. And I'd like to stop for a moment to think about the vastness of that statement. I often tell parents that young children, when they have young children, the days may seem endless, but the years fly by. And indeed, when I think about the fact that Rabbi and I have been here half of that 100 years, nearly half a century, I'm really moved to stand in awe and say, Shechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Thank you, O God, for allowing us to live to reach this day. We've been doing this together, Rabbi and I, for a while, teaching and learning and leading and loving each and every one who's a member of our family, our BT family. And I think about all the experiences we've had, the memories we've made together. The story is told in the name of Reb Chaim Kanevsky, the Torah giant whose funeral was attended by nearly 1 million people just last week in Bnei Brak. A man came to shul one morning and gave a kiddush, kichel and schnapps, and celebrated with everyone in attendance. What's the simcha, they asked him? He answered, I was walking across the street, got hit by a car, was thrown into the air, flipped onto the sidewalk flat on my back, and I got up without a scratch. Mazel tov, they all cried and drank a l'chaim. The next day, another man came in and gave a kiddush, kichel and schnapps, with apologies to our wonderful millionaires. And they said, "You too were hit by a car?" "No," he said, "I'll tell you. I was walking across the same street. I walked across twice, and I didn't get hit by a car. And that's why I am celebrating." And they said, "Mazel tov, l'chaim." We too have been through a lot together. And now, through it all, Baruch Hashem, we are here. Mazel tov and l'chaim. And I say thank you, because there is so much to be thankful for in this unique Beth Tfiloh, a shul that is like no other. What shul thinks of building a school and a community center first because it believes in the future? What shul invests in enhancing a school before it beautifies its own walls and halls? What shul moves to an unknown neighborhood and invests in its youth before its senior members? And what shul is not just standing, but thriving after 100 years? In truth, that's why I came here over 40 years ago, because I heard of a place that does all that cares about kids and likes to see them running up to the bima to get candy from the legendary Rabbi. And that place was called Beth Tfiloh, a place where everyone could feel comfortable, where everyone was welcomed, and you heard, where everyone knows your name. Many people remember people with legendary names like Sagner and Epstein and Manischewitz and Spector and Ruback and Steinharder and Eric Levy, Alehem Hashalom, who were part of the infrastructure and the history on whom the rest of this institution rests. What rich memories, what beautiful experiences, what an extraordinary legacy. And I feel so blessed to be a part of that history and of that legacy. And two people who are so clearly a part of that history and that legacy are being honored here tonight. Rabbi has just paid tribute to Eve Steinberg, who represents the history of BT as few do, and I'm privileged to pay tribute to someone who has always remained behind the scenes, but I can't think of someone more deserving to be brought out in front of the curtain. I don't know if over the past 36 years there's been a program, an idea, an initiative, an event that didn't have Sherry Brownstein's distinct imprint on it. Her creativity, her organizational skills, her ability to lead, her talent in taking something from an idea to reality are absolutely astounding. Name a program, and Sherry was behind it. Youth Minyan, Women's Megillah reading, family service, student government, block parties, bar bat mitzvah programming, maybe not fish on Rosh Hashanah, petting zoos, fireworks, Wiener tournament, senior Israel trip. The list goes on. And Sherry approached each and every project with the same level of enthusiasm and competence and just made them all come alive. In fact, having been here 36 years, twice high, she infused each of our programs with a double dose of life, because her definition of success was to make the program come alive and to make all of us come alive when we were a part of them. You know what Sherry is? She's a serial giver. She's a person who gives of herself unsparingly, a person who doesn't know what 100% means, because she always does things 110%. She's full of love for her kids, for Ilana and Ari, now Simi and Melissa, along with her gorgeous grandchildren, supported by Jeb. She is full of devotion with a heart that belongs to Beth Tfiloh. Sherry has been a loyal friend and mentor to so many, but it's not just the events, it's the person. Caring and compassionate, smart and savvy, intelligent and intuitive. To me, Sherry has been much more than a colleague. She's been a friend, a confidant, a sister. And Beth Tfiloh has been shaped by so much of what she has created. My dear sister Sherry, it's my honor to present to you with this honor.
You would think that after all the events I've planned, I'd have worked on them a little bit better and known not to schedule myself between Rabbi Wahlberg, Dr. Shore, and Rabbi Posner. David Ben-Gurion, who has a reputation of being a long-winded speaker, is about to address an audience when he realizes he's forgotten his watch, which he puts on the podium to keep track of time. He speaks to someone in the front row and asks, "Excuse me, would you mind lending me your watch?" The man replies, "Mr. Prime Minister, you don't need a watch, you need a calendar." And thus, it would take days, not the minute I was given in the program, to express my feelings about the last 36 years of my life. Many people here have two homes. Very few people can say that their homes are not hundreds of miles apart, but just right next door. I have been most fortunate to have loved living so much of my life in these walls. I will have opportunities to individually thank the colleagues that are up here, who have been such an important part of my life every day. But tonight, I just want to thank you for making my work here something I looked forward to almost every day. My work here is not done. Now I can work on being just a good congregant and support the efforts of the wonderful new senior staff such as Dan and Talia and our new senior Rabbi Posner, who will be guiding us into the future. So you haven't seen the last of me. Most of all, I want to thank my family for sharing me all these years. I look forward to being more available to you. There's a letter that one of our congregants sent to me recently. It's dated September 16th, 1986. Dear Mark, congratulations on what appears to be an excellent choice for a youth director. I had the pleasure of meeting Sherry Brownstein last Friday, and I want to commend you on your committee's recommendation. And it was signed Alan Carland. It was a good choice for you, but it was even a better choice for me, and I thank you, and I appreciate every day I've had here. Thank you.
I hope I did you justice.
You did. It was amazing. Thank you.
Presented to Sherry Brownstein with our deepest appreciation for her many years of dedication, commitment, and service to the Beth Tfiloh community, and the clergy, staff, and board of Beth Tfiloh are pleased to present Sherry Brownstein with a trip to Israel in recognition of years of service. Thank you. Leave it here.
Before I step down, I do want to make two thank yous. And that's one, the production, the sound, the video, everything that's going on here belongs to another one of our alumni. Hanan, you met. I want to introduce to you, he's helped us with so many programs. David Goldstein, class of 2006. And our pianist, it's just unbelievable. Oh, you are? Never mind, I'm not going to say it. I'm not taking, I won't steal your thunder.
He's one of my kids.
All right, I'll say it. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Rabbi Posner hasn't been here long enough to know that he doesn't. He'll learn. So we stop, all of us, to say thank you to God for putting these extraordinary people in our lives, for allowing us to celebrate together the miracle of the last 100 years. In honor of that, we've prepared for you a card, a real Rabbi Wahlberg signature gesture, which you can pick up on your way out, which says, Modeh ani lefanecha, thank you, O God. And each one of you will have that to remind you to be thankful. And in the meantime, that was the individual, Modim anachnu lach. You've gotten us this far, dear God, for the last 100 years in the collective. Kain techayenu utkaimenu. May you continue to give us the strength, the fortitude, the ability to continue to bring to life the glorious vision of a vibrant Beth Tfiloh for the next 100 years. Take it back. Bis 120 Jahre. For the next 120 years. Amen. And now, it's really my pleasure and privilege to announce who the people are that you heard just now. The renowned cellist Amit Peled, who is both a member, a parent in the school, who, by the way, whose daughter just became president of the student council, and Solomon Eichner, class of '06, one of my children, as Sherry mentioned, who are just extraordinary musicians and are here to enhance this night. You each, with your presence, have enhanced this night. We all, on behalf of the staff, thank you. A very special mazal tov to my good friends, Eve Steinberg and Sherry Brownstein. And from now to the next 100 years, and maybe in 100 years from now, it'll be a slightly shorter program. Mazel tov, mazel tov, mazel tov.
We will end our bit of music with a piece by Jorgens Tuchelski, who was a Jewish cellist composer who was born in Ukraine. He was in a cheder, Hasidic, but his father acknowledged and found talent in him for music and made sure that he can study the cello. Luckily for me, I should say, he was a refugee in the Second World War, like many millions that are living now in Ukraine, and he ended up in the early 30s of last century in Palestine, what was to become, of course, Israel. He, instead of being depressed about it, he embraced the country. He became a well-known composer, teacher, and as you will hear in his music now, there's, I call it a goulash of everything in his life, the cheder, the Hasidic music, the Ukrainian music, and the Mediterranean flair to it. There are 4 short movements. Each movement represents a different Jewish community in Ukraine that was destroyed completely during the Second World War. First one is Basaramic song. Second one is a Jewish song. Third one is Nuts and Wine, which hopefully we will get to tonight as well, to the Nuts and Wine. And as in every reception, you drink and you eat and you get a little drunk as you do that. And that would lead to the last one, which is a Hasidic celebration, a Jewish wedding. Same as in Nuts and Wine, we like to drink in our weddings. And you will see how intoxicated we get as we keep drinking and dancing.
One of the things that Beth Tfiloh Shul really has to offer to families and multi-generational families is there's something for everyone. Young families grow up and you know the grandparents of your friends who you used to go to school with, and that's something really special that a lot of places don't have.
Nowadays on Shabbos, like my mom's here and we're here and our kids are here and like we get to daven in shul with our grandparents, like that's amazing.
Zach and I attend Shabbat services together whenever we can. We can pray,
and think and enjoy each other's company.
I enjoy the inclusivity and diverse, welcoming nature of the services. It's special to daven in unison with such a diverse group of Jews.
No matter what your personal Judaism looks like, you can make it whatever you want here.
For any type of Jew of any kind, anyone who wants to feel more connected to Hashem and feel more connected to their Jewish identity, this is the best place to do that.
I've been here for 80 years. As I look back on that time, the impact of seeing my wife and my mother and my grandmother all attending services here on a regular basis, it's an inspiration.
We were all together from the holidays and synagogue, and we sat in the same places in shul, and I still, to this day, go back and I look at those spots and remember them.
Every year on Simchas Torah and on Purim, Beth Tfiloh has opportunities for women to learn Torah or to read Megillah. And now every year we participate in that, and you see all three generations. And I always just feel like my kids are learning that, like, this is what we do.
The ability to learn Torah just never was on anybody's radar when I was growing up. And I'm just so proud that my daughters are able to do this and my grandchildren are able to do this. So now that there's these opportunities, it's just really heartwarming.
My Zaidi was the Baal Koreh of the shul when I was a little girl. And it was something that I thought when my father would teach the boys, I would think, I can do that. And then one day they said, would you like to learn for Simchas Torah? And I couldn't wait to do it.
I think it's a great experience as a young girl, and it's a great chance to be able to show like the growth like within the Jewish community and show that women can get involved.
The honor of the Ne'ilah service and being called to open the Ark was an honor that was given to my father, and which he considered to be the greatest honor when he passed away, and that honor was then given to my brother Ben and myself. We considered it to be an honor to our family. We realized that the responsibility we were given is that we are opening up the Ark so that the Beth Tfiloh family can in unison welcome the new year with love and with optimism.
Especially important was the junior congregation and the exposure that my children had at a very young age.
My brothers and I learned our stuff, learned the prayers, learned the music, learned how to do things, davening, standing up. There was no transition from the junior congregation to the main congregation. It just set us all up.
The Centennial is an amazing milestone. I think looking at Tali and seeing the kids that she socializes with, Beth Tfiloh has a fabulous future.
I believe Beth Tfiloh's future is bright. Beth Tfiloh has always shown the ability to adapt to new circumstances and keep relevant in a changing world.
I think that Beth Tfiloh can fulfill a unique opportunity where people can learn fully within the confines of an Orthodox congregation, but have the openness to society that I think is epitomized by modern Orthodoxy.
I wouldn't presume to predict where it's going in the future, but looking back and seeing how it evolved, if the trend is any guide, I'm optimistic and I look forward to continue coming back.
I think Beth Tfiloh has a great future. The American Jewish community is thirsting for something in between the two extremes. It has a very important role to play in providing something for people that are seeking a community that is both traditional but modern.
We love that Beth Tfiloh is a multi-generational place. We feel very comfortable coming here. Our friends come here. We enjoy our time that we spend here. Our children feel the same way, and it's a unique opportunity when you can go to a shul and everyone feels welcome.
I've had 5 generations of family at Beth Tfiloh. It has impacted my family and myself in a very positive way.
Beth Tfiloh keeps giving each new generation the same feelings.
so it's not hard for each subsequent generation to continue to come back and stay.
My paternal great-grandfather, Rabbi Samuel Rosenblatt, was the founding rabbi of Beth Tfiloh. And I think it's a testament to my great-grandfather's vision that Beth Tfiloh still works for his great-great-grandchildren.
One reason we love coming to BT is because our children are so excited to come. They ask us, what time's lighting on Shabbos? When are we going to shul? I think a reason they love coming is because they know that they're welcome and they're wanted. To get to watch your kids learn Torah before your eyes, it's wonderful.
And then kind of when we go home, we'll sit around the Shabbat table and they'll be excited to tell us what they did at shul, what they learned.
Our son Theo is probably our family's most active BT participant, and counts the rabbinic staff among his closest friends.
When Theo comes home and tells us about the Jewish holidays or about a Hebrew word he learned, the joy of Jewish learning, of Hebrew learning, it's so evident, and that's something that's so important to him. We want him to have the love of Judaism.
Not only do you get the religious knowledge that is important, so you get an understanding, but you also have the ability to ask questions and to learn and to grow. So it's modern, yet the past is also so important. And I think when you combine the two, it just keeps us all coming back for wanting more.
It's really exciting to be a part of this Centennial celebration and BT's next 100 years. It's exciting to see the torch passed from one generation to the next, and then it's exciting at the opportunity of being a part of the future of Beth Tfiloh.
The warm relationships we've made and the strength of the leadership of the synagogue gives us confidence in BT's future, and we look forward to being part of that future.
That same feeling they've offered for 100 years, that it'll continue to be available for the next 100 years, to continue to be a place that's a welcoming facility and home and shul and social and spiritual setting for so many different types of Jews and so many different age brackets.
I think Beth Tfiloh in the future will continue to push all of us to learn and to grow and to experience our Jewish life in today's society. And that's all we really want, and that's why we are here.
Amit mentioned that we have a reception for all of you with nuts and wine. No, you didn't stay here this long for nuts and wine. We have a reception that has, what I've learned over the years, your two favorite words: carving stations. Again, we thank the Dahan Foundation for making this wonderful, wonderful celebration possible. In these more than 4 decades, you have given me so much satisfaction in so many ways. But I can honestly say the greatest gift of all was in giving you Chai Posner to follow me. This gives me the joy of knowing that all that we have accomplished will be secured in his exceptionally capable hands. Beth Tfiloh must be doing something right. You've had 2 rabbis, both of whom served for nearly 50 years. You should feel good in knowing you've picked a 3rd one. I'm not simply honored, but thrilled to present your rabbi and mine, Rabbi Chai Posner.
I thought you were going to give me a trip to Israel. I also thought the two words were free food, but 100 years of Beth Tfiloh history on video. Musical selections from Carnegie Hall musicians and our Chazan Albrecht. Speeches from Rabbi Wahlberg, Dr. Shore, Governor Hogan, County Executive Johnny O, the White House presented by Hanan Weissman, lay leaders honored, staff honored, tributes to dear friends who are retiring. And after all of that, I stand here. All that stands between you and the carving stations out in the hall. So I will not take long. Robert, get out. Just yesterday, we entered the month of Nisan, the month of Pesach, and our sages teach us that this is a very special month, that b'Nisan nigalu, u'v'Nisan atidim ligael. In Nisan, we were redeemed, and in Nisan, we will once again be redeemed. In Judaism, it is impossible to separate the future from the past. When we sit at the Seder, we re-experience our past in order to shape our future. The future is built on the foundations of the past. The fruits of tomorrow are nourished by the roots of yesterday. As we were once again reminded of this evening, Beth Tfiloh congregation has deep, strong, precious roots. And as I will remind you of again and again going forward, Beth Tfiloh congregation also has a vibrant, exciting, and engaging future. It's been quite a 100 years, but we are only getting started. And we are grateful that all of you are here along for the ride. As they say, yesterday's the past, tomorrow's the future, but today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. So let us, as we speak about the past and hope towards the future, enjoy today, enjoy now, enjoy the present. Mazel tov, thank you, and have a great evening, everyone.